"Don't step closer," Myra whispered, though her voice trembled like a harp string caught in a sudden wind. "Something is watching us." Stopped, boots grinding softly on the crystalline dust. The cavern, vast, violet-lit and humming like a distant choir, seemed to inhale. Characters. Myra, the lost princess of, gifted with an eerie sensitivity to sound. A human explorer whose calm hides a lifetime of unspoken burdens. Queen, the enigmatic alien ruler, whose presence bends the air itself. The cavern's breath deepened, and somewhere in the echoing dark, a note shifted, sharp, metallic, warning. Felt it in his ribs more than his ears. It had begun the moment they crossed the threshold, the sense that time itself had tightened, that something old and patient had finally opened its eyes. They had only 1 hour before the collapsing star above this world tore the crust apart. 60 minutes to find the beacon that could lead Myra home or leave them stranded forever. Turned his head, scanning the rippling violet shadows. "What do you hear now?" Myra didn't answer at first. Her gaze drifted upward toward the carved pillars spiraling into the darkness, runes pulsing faintly like heartbeats. The pulses were slower now, too slow. A warning. "The queen," Myra murmured. "She's close." Felt the temperature drop. "You said she doesn't leave the throne chambers." "She shouldn't," Myra whispered, "but she's here." A soft vibration rippled through the cavern floor, like a giant hand brushing dust from stone. Instinctively put himself in front of Myra, though he knew that meant very little against a being spoken of in half-believed myths. A hush fell thicker than silence, heavy as velvet. Then a voice drifted from the shadows, gentle yet resonant as though woven from starlight. "Human, I wish you were my mate." The air stilled, time stilled. Even Myra inhaled sharply, her eyes widening. Couldn't move. The voice was beautiful, melodic, but there was an ache beneath it, an ancient loneliness trembling between each syllable. A figure emerged, tall, clad in silver filaments that shimmered like liquid dawn. Queen, her luminous eyes flickered not with hunger but with recognition. Myra grasped his arm. "Don't answer," she whispered. "Not yet." She speaks in vows, not words. The queen stepped closer, and every rune in the cavern brightened in response, as though bowing. "You carry a sound I have long sought," said softly. "A courage that does not fear the void, a silence that does not break, a heart that stands firm even when its own weight grows heavy." Swallowed, forcing breath into his lungs. "Your Majesty, we mean no harm." Tilted her head, almost tender. "And yet harm follows you. The star dies above us. The gates weaken. The bond between worlds frays. Why come into my hollow when time itself resists your steps?" Myra stepped forward before could stop her. "Because I need the beacon. You know why." "Child of," the queen murmured, "your song still trembles with sorrow." The cavern dimmed again, the hour slipping. Felt urgency claw at his spine. "We only want to leave before the star collapses." His gaze lingered on. "Then answer me, human. Will you let me hear your truth? Only then will the beacon rise." His pulse hammered. He felt Myra's trembling hand tighten in his. Time was running out. And the queen waited, her eyes glowing like dawn held hostage in the dark. Steadied himself, drawing a breath as the cavern's walls tightened their glow. He felt the weight of worlds pressing upon him, yet beneath that pressure stirred something, something unwavering. He realized that the truth the queen sought was not power, but the will that defined his humanity. "Your truth," repeated, her voice drifting like a slow comet. "Speak it, human, before the star above us exhales its last." Felt Myra's hand shake once more, not from fear alone but from urgency. The cavern's violet light blinked just once, like an eye fighting to stay open. 30, maybe 40 minutes left. Every second slipped through them like sand. He cleared his throat, though the air felt thick. "My truth is simple," said. "I'm here because Myra needed someone to guide her. I'm here because I couldn't let her walk into danger alone." The queen's brow lowered, not in anger but in contemplation. "Altruism is rare among your kind." "It's not altruism," replied the cavern, echoing his heartbeat. "It's responsibility." Myra glanced up at him, surprise flickering in her eyes. She had expected him to speak of loss of the family he no longer had, of the world that felt smaller each year, but held those truths close, locked away. Not here, not now. Moved closer, each step a whisper of silver light. Responsibility, she murmured, a heavy truth, but not the one I seek. The cavern trembled, dust drifted like shimmering snow. Stiffened, then what do you want? The queen lifted a hand, graceful and ethereal. A beam of pale light arced from the cavern's ceiling to her palm, swirling like captured storm winds. I wish to know what your heart fears most. Only a fear spoken freely can awaken the beacon of. Myra inhaled sharply. You're asking him to. To reveal himself, finished. His soul carries the resonance I require. Exhaled. It wasn't fear of pain that gripped him. It was the thought of speaking aloud the shadows he kept buried. But the cavern's pulses slowed again, too slow. Time was thinning. He turned, meeting Myra's gaze. It's all right. She shook her head faintly, as though warning him not to expose a wound he'd never shown anyone, but stepped forward. My greatest fear, he whispered, voice barely rising, is that I'll fail the people who trust me, that I'll freeze or falter when it matters most, that one day I'll be too late. His eyes softened, so subtly it almost wasn't visible, a fear of absence, of slipping through time without leaving warmth behind. Her voice gentled. Yes, this I can hear. The beam in her hand brightened. But that alone is not enough, she said. The cavern's temperature dropped again, so quickly his breath fogged. Myra stepped forward, no longer trembling. Then take my truth as well. Looked at her with a slow, regal blink. You, child of, carry a different resonance, the sound of exile. Myra lifted her chin. My fear is that I'll never belong anywhere, not with my people, not even with myself. A beat of silence. The queen's eyes glowed brighter. The cavern lights rippled outward like a wave struck by a falling star. The beacon stirs, said softly, two truths intertwined, human courage woven with royal sorrow. The floor beneath them vibrated, and ancient metal rings embedded in the stone began to glow. A circular platform rose, humming, layers of light folding upon one another like petals of a waking flower. Let out a breath. That's it, that's the beacon. But stepped between them and the rising platform. You have spoken your truths, she said. Now you must face mine. Her voice deepened, not dark, not threatening, but weighted with centuries-long ache. I wish you were my mate, human, she murmured again, not as a claim, but as a confession. The cavern froze. Even the humming platform paused mid-rise. Lowered her gaze. Your resonance matches the one I sought across 1,000 years, but know this, my wish is not a chain, it is a choice. Felt Myra's breath catch beside him. The queen looked up, sadness shimmering within her luminous eyes. Before the star collapses, you must choose. Claim the beacon and escape, or hear the rest of the truth that binds your fate to mine. The cavern thrummed with suspended destiny. Felt the seconds thinning, each one sharper than the last. He closed his eyes. He would have to choose now. Opened his eyes, and the cavern's violet glow sharpened into focus. The queen's words pressed against him like a second heartbeat, soft yet unyielding. Myra stood still at his side, her breath shallow, her eyes fixed on him as though afraid to miss even a flicker of his decision. The ancient rings beneath their feet thrummed again, but more faintly this time. The beacon's awakening stalled like a lantern starved of air. Above them, a deep groan shook the cavern, the dying star clawing at the planet's crust. They had maybe 20 minutes left. Myra murmured. She grasped his arm. Don't choose yet, not without hearing her, but don't let her bind you with pity. Stepped closer, her luminous form casting gentle ripples through the air. It is not pity I offer, she whispered. It is truth long sealed, a truth you were always meant to hear, human. Steadied himself, then tell me. The queen raised a hand, and the cavern's violet light bent toward her, weaving into soft spirals that drifted like floating ink. With a slow gesture, she pressed her palm to her chest. A faint chime rang out, like glass touched by moonlight. My people, she began, are bound to resonance. not to bloodlines or crowns but to the rhythm of souls. Each of us carries a unique cadence that seeks one equal note across the universe. Her eyes shimmered. For centuries, mine has echoed unanswered. Our legends call it the stranded song, the melody destined never to find its counterpart. It is said queens who bear it face a lonely reign. Felt a pressure behind those words, like someone quietly admitting that an entire lifetime had been spent waiting. His next step toward him was slow, almost fragile. But then your world spoke. A wave of sound, faint yet unwavering, reached across the void, a resonance that matched mine. His heart tightened. That's impossible. And yet you stand before me, she murmured. Myra swallowed. She means your heartbeat, your silence, the way you hold yourself together even when you're breaking. She hears it. The queen nodded gently. Your spirit sings in a way ours have not heard for ages, a hymn of endurance, a song of quiet devotion. Stepped back despite himself. I'm just human, I'm nothing cosmic. His expression softened, and her voice dropped to a near whisper. That is what makes your resonance rare. A deep crack echoed through the cavern ceiling, louder this time. Dust rained down. Myra flinched, instinctively shielded her. We're running out of time, he said through clenched teeth. Lifted her gaze to the groaning ceiling. Yes, and so I must speak quickly. She turned back to him, eyes glowing brighter, yet no malice, only grief. You must know what the beacon truly is, she said. It does not merely open a door. It binds pathways between worlds. It requires equal resonance to function, two hearts aligned at least for a moment. Without that harmony, the gate collapses. Your truth awakened it, but only halfway. Felt the ground tilt beneath him. So you're saying. The beacon will not fully rise unless your resonance joins with mine. Myra's breath hitched. That means he has to. Accept the bond, finished gently. Not forever, only long enough for the beacon to unlock your path home. Stared at the glowing rings beneath their feet. Myra, the star above them dying, the queen before him holding a truth she had waited centuries to reveal. Stepped closer, but her posture was not royal, it was vulnerable. I do not wish to force you, she whispered. If you refuse, the beacon falls silent, and neither you nor the princess will escape before the star collapses. Myra's fingers curled into fists. Don't do it because she wants you to. Do it only if you believe it's right. Another quake shook the cavern, harder this time. The air thrummed with urgency. Lowered her head. Human, your choice decides the fate of all three of us. The final pulses of the beacon flickered, weak, dying, waiting for his answer. Closed his eyes. The countdown had begun. His eyes remained shut for only a heartbeat, but in that heartbeat he saw everything. Myra's quiet strength, the queen's centuries of waiting, the dying star throwing its final breaths into the void. When he opened them again, the cavern seemed smaller, the air thinner, as though every choice he might make had already begun shaping the room around him. The floor trembled beneath their feet, a deep, quaking pulse that warned of the planet's unraveling. They had minutes, less perhaps. The violet light flickered like a candle trapped between breaths. Myra stepped closer to him. She whispered, her voice shaking but steady, "Whatever you choose, I'll stand with you." Her words grounded him. Myra never made promises lightly. Lifted her gaze, the glow of her eyes dimming to something gentler like dawn struggling through fog. "Human," she murmured, "I do not ask for devotion, only resonance, only the truth your heart already carries." Exhaled, "What does the bond feel like?" The queen paused, taken aback by the question, and for the first time her expression shifted, soft surprise, tinged with fragile hope. "It feels," said slowly, "like standing in a storm and finding one still place that does not break. It does not steal your will, it mirrors it." A faint crack split across the cavern wall, glowing with molten light. Myra grabbed sleeve, pulling him away from the falling dust. "We don't have long," she reminded, urgency lacing her voice. "Decide soon." Stepped toward them, but her movements were cautious, respectful, as if she feared startling him. "Your bond with me will not erase your path. It will open it, and it will fade the moment the beacon completes its work." His heart pounded, a temporary bond, no chains, no eternal vow. But still, an intimacy deeper than words. He looked at Myra. Her eyes glistened with determination, not fear. Listen to yourself, not me, not her, you. Another quake roared through the cavern. A sharp, metallic shriek echoed from somewhere high above. The star's gravitational pull was fracturing the planet's crust. Extended her hand, palm open, fingers trembling faintly. Human, let me hear your resonance fully. Let the beacon awaken. Then you both will have your escape. Stared at her hand. Then slowly he stepped forward. Myra held her breath. His luminescent fingers brushed his. A sound burst through the cavern, not a noise but a note. Pure, ringing, endless. It vibrated in its bones, in Myra's heartbeat, in the stone itself. Light spiraled upward from the rings beneath them, weaving around in the queen like celestial thread. Gasped, he wasn't losing himself. He wasn't being pulled apart. He was seen. Not the scars he hid, not the guilt he carried like armor, just the quiet, stubborn strength beneath it all. His breath hitched, and a tear shimmering like molten silver rolled down her cheek. Your resonance, she whispered, voice cracking. It is beautiful. The cavern ignited with white light. Myra shielded her eyes, but she couldn't hide the relief softening her face. The beacon surged upward with a roar, forming a towering column of spiraling energy, bright as a newborn star. The bond between and the queen glowed like a thin silver thread, vibrant but gentle. Steadied herself. The gate will open soon. When it does, you must step through at once. Nodded, but before he could step back from her, lifted her other hand and placed it lightly over his, sealing the resonance. A pulse rippled outward, so powerful the air quivered. Yet her voice was soft. Human, thank you. Even if this bond lasts only moments, you have ended my centuries of silence. Didn't know what to say, but Myra stepped forward and placed a hand on his shoulder. The beacon shuddered, brighter, brighter. But then flickered. His face paled. No, it's not stabilizing. Another quake ripped through the cavern. Myra staggered. What's happening? His eyes widened with sudden fear. The bond awakened the beacon, but something else has awakened with it. A distant roar, ancient, metallic, furious, echoed from the depths of the cavern. Froze. Whispered, we are no longer alone. Spun toward the shadows as the roar deepened, rolling through the cavern like an avalanche of metal. The violet light stuttered, then bent away from a distant tunnel as if recoiling from something that had finally stirred. Myra pressed closer to him. That sound that isn't natural. Stepped forward, her silver radiance flaring briefly before dimming in distress. No, it is ancient, older than my reign, older than the throne itself. The ground quaked violently, sending fractures crawling across the stone floor like lightning trapped under glass. The beacon's radiant column sputtered, each flicker casting long, trembling shadows across their faces. Drew in a sharp breath. You knew this thing existed. Shook her head slowly. I knew of the hollow guardians, but I believed them long dormant. They were created to protect the beacon from invaders, monuments of memory and steel. But when the star began to die, I thought they'd been lost to silence. Myra clenched her fists. If it thinks we're invaders, then it will try to destroy us, finished softly. All of us. The roar swelled again, this time accompanied by the grinding of stone as something enormous shifted deeper within the cavern. The temperature plummeted. Dust spiraled upward as if gravity trembled. Stepped in front of Myra by instinct. How much time do we have? Closed her eyes briefly, attuning herself to the vibrations in the air. 15 minutes before the star ruptures, less before the guardian arrives. Myra swallowed hard, so we have to stabilize the beacon now. His gaze tightened. The beacon only falters when a resonance remains incomplete. Stared at her. Incomplete. You said the bond awakened it. It awakened, whispered, but did not settle. The guardian's presence disrupts the harmony. Something about your truth remains unsaid. Felt a coldness twist inside him, deeper than fear, closer to recognition. What more do you need? His luminous eyes reflected him like twin mirrors. Not more, just truth you still hide. The cavern shook again. A massive silhouette shifted inside the tunnel, illuminated by faint sparks of blue lightning. Myra grabs hands. Whatever is left, let it out. We don't have time. He opened his mouth, then stopped. What truth? He had spoken of fear, of failure, of responsibility. What more could there be? Then whispered, almost aching, "Your heart carries a silence louder than any sound, a grief that still echoes. That silence blocks the resonance." Stiffened. Myra's breath caught. "Is it about your family?" He stared at the floor, at the cracks forming beneath his boots. The cavern vibrated under another thunderous step from the approaching guardian. He drew in a trembling breath. "I lost them, all of them, and I never let myself grieve. I kept moving, kept helping others, kept pretending the weight didn't crush me." The words cracked out of him like shattering stone. "I'm terrified," said, voice unsteady, "that if I ever stop being strong, I'll fall apart, and there'll be no one left to put me back together." Myra covered her mouth, eyes shining. Stepped closer, the bond thread pulsing brightly now. "Human, there is no shame in being afraid to break. Strength is not silence." A deep metallic horn bellowed from the tunnel. The guardian's silhouette grew clearer, a massive construct of ancient alloy, many-limbed, eyes glowing like molten sapphire. Pressed her hand against chest, just above his heart. "Let your silence be heard," she whispered. "Let it resonate." Exhaled shakily, finally releasing the quiet that had caged him for years. The ache, the weight, the loneliness, all of it spilled through him in a long, shaking breath. And the beacon howled awake. A column of white-gold light erupted upward, shaking the cavern walls. The bond thread between and blazed, stabilizing into a bright, unwavering line. Myra gasped, "You did it." But its expression changed, hope and horror mingling in her luminous eyes. "The beacon is stable," she said, "but the guardian now sees you as its chosen, and it will not let its chosen leave." The tunnel exploded outward, stone flying. The guardian emerged, towering, gleaming, alive. And it was staring directly at. Felt the guardian's gaze settle on him, heavy, electric, ancient. Its many limbs unfolded like the branches of a metallic tree, each joint creaking with a sound that vibrated in the bones. Blue fire pulsed beneath its armor, illuminating centuries of dust that flaked from its surface with each slow breath. Myra stumbled back. "It's focusing on you." Lifted an arm, silver light radiating from her palms. "Do not move." The guardian recognizes resonance, not faces. It senses the bond's center, and that center is you. The guardian lowered its massive head, its sapphire eyes narrowing. The air crackled with static. A low, droning hum reverberated from its chest, sweeping through the cavern like a tidal wave of sound. Placed a steadying hand on Myra's back. "I'll distract it when the gate opens." "No," Myra grabbed his wrist, her fingers tightening. "We're not leaving you." The guardian stepped forward, each movement shaking the cavern. Stone rained from the cracked ceiling. The star's death throes rumbled through the planet like a distant drum calling time's end. Floated into his path, placing herself between him and the approaching giant. "You cannot fight it with strength, only resonance. The guardian responds to harmony, not force." Clenched his jaw. "Then tell me how to control it." "You do not control it," she said softly. "You match it." The guardian's limbs unfurled further, glowing lines of power racing through its form. The hum grew louder, deeper, demanding. Raised both hands, forming a swirling orb of silver energy. The beacon behind them roared with renewed brilliance, the gate beginning its rotational bloom like a star unfolding. "You must resonate with it," continued. "Speak the final truth, the one still locked inside you." His heart pounded. "What truth? I've said everything. I've told you." "No," whispered. "You have spoken of fear, you have spoken of grief, but you have not spoken of hope." The word struck him harder than any quake. Hope, a small, fragile thing he had buried long ago. Myra stepped beside him, her voice barely above a whisper. "What do you hope for, really?" The guardian halted, its eyes flashed. It waited silent, listening. Swallowed, breath shaking as memories rose. The warmth of a home he once had, the laughter he lost, the years he spent wandering worlds without belonging anywhere. His voice cracked. I hope to find a place where I'm not just surviving, a place where I belong, with people who see me, not the strength I pretend to have, but the person underneath. The hum from the Guardian softened, its limbs lowered, but wasn't finished. And I hope, he whispered, that no matter what I've lost, I can still build something new, something worth living for. Myra's eyes glimmered and closed hers, absorbing the resonance like a melody she had waited lifetimes to hear. A brilliant silver shockwave erupted from his chest, the bond thread pulsing violently. It shot outward, striking the Guardian square in the heart. The Guardian staggered backward, its massive body trembling as the pulse synchronized with its core. Sapphire eyes flickered, then steadied into a gentle glow. "It's listening," Myra breathed. "It understands." Nodded. "You've aligned with it. Now command it gently." Stepped forward, raising a trembling hand. "Let us pass." The Guardian bowed. The ground quaked again, harder. A violent rift tore across the cavern floor, ripping stone apart. The beacon's gate flashed, stabilizing into a spiraling tunnel of white-gold light. Looked at with luminous sadness. "The bond fades soon. When it does, the gate will close. You must go now." Myra turned to, "Together." He nodded, "Together," but didn't move. She stepped back away from the gate. Myra froze. "You're not coming." The Queen smiled, a quiet, heartbroken curve. "A queen cannot abandon her hollow. My duty ends where yours begins." Another crack thundered through the cavern. Reached for her, but the Guardian stepped between them, protective, guiding. Whispered, "Human, remember my wish, not as a chain but as a truth." Light surrounded them. The gate roared. The world began to collapse. And realized the final choice had not been made yet. Stared at as the cavern groaned under the dying star's pull, the beacon's golden vortex widening behind him like an open wound in space. Myra tugged desperately at his sleeve. "We have to go," but didn't move. Stood bathed in the beacon's brilliance, silver filaments fluttering from her robes as debris rained around her. She didn't look afraid, only resolved, a queen accepting her end with quiet grace. "Myra," he whispered, voice straining, "she saved us. She can't stay here." Myra swallowed hard. "I know, but she's choosing this." Placed a hand over her heart, her radiance softening. "My hollow needs a guardian in its final moments. The gate must remain steady until you pass through. If I step into it, the resonance breaks." A massive tremor split the floor beside them, stone falling away to reveal a chasm glowing with molten light. The star was minutes, maybe seconds, from tearing the planet apart. Stepped forward anyway, shouting over the roaring collapse, "Come with us. You don't have to stay alone." The Queen's eyes shimmered, not with light, but with something far more human. "For centuries, I waited for a resonance to answer mine. Now that it has, I can face my end without regret." The Guardian bent its massive body protectively around her, shielding her from falling debris. Blue light flickered softly across its chest, calm, steady, no longer hostile. It bowed its head toward in solemn acknowledgement. Myra's voice trembled. "Let us help you." "You already have," she whispered. "You brought me truth, and you gave my silence an answer." The gate behind them pulsed urgently, the vortex destabilizing with every passing second. The air thinned. The cavern ceiling cracked. A beam of molten light slashed down, narrowly missing them. Clenched his fists, torn between impossible choices. Floated closer, the bond thread between them flickering, weakening. In moments, it would dissolve entirely. She reached toward him, her luminescent fingers brushing his cheek in a gesture gentle enough to still the chaos around them. "Human," she murmured, voice softer than the collapsing world around them. "Do not linger in guilt. The beacon needed a resonance strong enough to awaken it. You carried that strength. You answered my song. That is enough." His breath hitched, "But your wish." "My wish," she said, "was for connection, and you gave me that even for a moment." The cavern shook violently. Myra stumbled, nearly falling, grabbed her arm, steadying her. Stepped back, the bond thread dimming to a faint silver line. "It is time," she whispered. "Go and live. Let your hope shape the world you return to. Let it guide you to the place you seek." Felt his throat close. She smiled, a fragile, luminous thing. "Remember, resonance does not end, it echoes always." The guardian rose behind her, raising its colossal arms as the cavern roof collapsed, shielding her beneath its glowing form. Blue light flared through its armor as it braced against the falling world. Myra tugged toward the gate. "We have to leave now." Took one last look at the queen, the friend he had known only briefly, yet who had changed him forever. Lifted her hand in farewell, silver light blooming from her fingertips like falling stars. "Farewell, human. Farewell, child of." His voice broke. "Farewell." He took Myra's hand. Together they stepped into the light. The gate exploded outward, swallowing them in warmth and blinding gold as the bond thread finally snapped. Behind them, in the collapsing cavern, stood tall beneath the guardian's protection, her eyes closing peacefully as the star's final burst consumed the hollow. But her last whisper chased into the new world beyond. "May your hope lead you home." And in the echo of that fading, sacred resonance, finally believed it could.